When that storm Katrina hit about almost 10 years ago, we call it K10 now, as a hashtag in the trade down in New Orleans, Katrina 10, it came in big as the country of England. And the biggest damage from this storm was not the eye of the storm. The biggest damage from the storm was the water, as all of you know, because it basically destroyed everything around the Gulf coast of Mississippi, around Biloxi, and in that area. And it put a 27-foot wall of water into Biloxi area. In New Orleans, it pushed water through the gap there on the east side of the Lake Pontchartrain and ended up putting 17-foot wall of water into New Orleans. And the levees broke. And people right now, there are all kind of documentaries coming out, Katrina plus 10, talking about it was a levee problem. Well, here's my take on that. Anything built by man can be destroyed by Mother Nature. So get over it. I can tell you this, if you live next to the Mississippi River, you ought to assume something. What? It's going to flood. That comes with a risk. And we need to get people to come to grips with that. When I'm out in the Midwest, people ask me, say, well, General, and some of you have heard this story before, well, General, how do you know if your place is going to flood? Well, to me, it's a very simple solution. If you can see water from your damn house, it's probably going to flood. This is not that sophisticated. Like the poor people in Texas last week, many of them saw them on television. My heart went out to them. Some of them had $1 million homes. And they liked that because you could go out there in the morning, they could hear the Russel River just going by and see the fish jumping in the water. If you're that close to that water, you got to assume that someday it's going to flood, because you moved in a flood zone. And you can go around South Louisiana and South Florida, and you can see them areas, and you look at a map 100 years ago, and you can assume it's just a function of time before those places flood. Remember, 28-foot wall of water from the sea hit Biloxi. What happened if a 28-foot wall of water was to go into Florida? Is that your problem as floodplain managers? If it's not, it will be, because there are going to be a lot of people trying to understand how a surge works from a storm, because that actually is what caused New Orleans to flood. New Orleans, the eye of the storm had turned right and went to Biloxi. But the surge water pushed in there by Katrina, pushed that water through Lake Borg and got it into the city. And the levees fell. And you say, well, how high should you build a levee? Where are the engineers? How high you ought to build a levee? Well, down in New Orleans, we had Thibodeau and Boudreaux, one on each side. And they looked down there and said, hey, does that look good enough? Look good enough to me, buddy. Any levee can fail. A levee will give you early protection. It will give you early warning. And you might trust it to protect your property. But if the river is at flood stage and the authorities tell you it's time to evacuate, you need to evacuate, because any levee can fail.